Hello, welcome to a new episode Russian Speaks. I'm Elena, your host, and joining us today, Vladimir Taganovsky, a middle school teacher from Tomsk. And we are going to talk about Tomsk. Hello, Vladimir, nice to see you.
Hello, Elena, nice to see you too.
Okay, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. But as I said, today we are going to talk about Tomsk, but first I would like to explain a choice of my topic. The story is, very often when people hear my accent, they ask me where I'm from, and I tell them I'm from Russia. They assume that I'm from Moscow, and of course, at that point, I don't even bother to name my hometown. I just tell them I'm from Siberia. And Siberia itself gives them very big impressions. Like they know that it's huge, they know that it's cold, and some of them even know that it was a place for exiles. And Tomsk is a small city in Siberia. It's old and beautiful, and it's very special for its natives. So I think it really deserves to be known, maybe just a little tiny bit.
Yes, you're right. Tomsk citizens love Tomsk. So Tomsk was established in 1604. Actually, Tomsk has just celebrated its 417th birthday and got its name from the name of the river on which it's located.
Yes, I just wanted to add a little bit about where it's located. My husband created a very nice explanation about that. So he says, my wife lived just above China. And it's really cute. It sounds really cute, but it's true. Because if you look on a map, you can see Kazakhstan on one side, Mongolia on another side, and China just in the shape of corners in between. And if you look up, not straight, but a little bit, but still up, you will find Tomsk. So it's true. And you know what? Right now, I would like to share the screen and show some photos that I've got from you, from my friends, and some of them are mine. And we will continue talking and at the same time look at those photos. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
So you can continue, by the way.
Yeah, I have to tell or admit that a lot of Siberian cities are located along the Trans-Siberian Railway and the longest in the world. The railway came into operation in 1903. However, Tomsk bypassed the favor of the village Novonikolaevsk, 100 kilometers south of Tomsk.
Yes, and you know what? That is true. And Tomsk kind of went through a lot. It went through developing, decline, and reinvention. And when people think about Siberia as a place of exiles, they're actually right. Because in the middle of 19th century, 1/5 of Tomsk population were exiles.
Yeah, most of them were such famous oppositionists like Mikhail Bakunin, Iosif Stalin, Abram Kanibal. It's the grandfather of the greatest Russian poet. So in the summer of 1912, Stalin was exiled to Narim, Tomsk. True, he did not stay long on Tomsk land. After 38 days, just 38 days, Stalin fled from exile. And in Narim, there is a still house of Alexeyevs, where Iosif Vissarionovich lived in the summer of 1912. The museum staff have preserved the furnishings that were in this house during the Stalin's exile.
The funniest thing is that after that, in a few, I think, like how many, 2-3 decades, he was sending people to exile where he was before himself. Yeah, it's funny. When I was getting ready for our program, for our conversation, I found out that a grandfather of Russian composer Dmitry Shostakovich was
Mhm.
exiled to Narim also in 1866. And he, after his term of exile ended, he stayed in Siberia. So I knew that about Dmitry Shostakovich, that this is a composer, but I did not know that his grandfather was almost not from Tomsk, but still he was a Polish revolutionary. But it's interesting. And another thing, what I also found out, but it is not a fact, it's a possibility, that another Russian author, Alexander Radishev, on his way to Siberian exile, it's like Siberia place for exiles. He stayed in Tomsk for a few days. But once again, it's not a fact, it's only a possibility. So
Yeah, however, not all of the famous people were exiles. For example, Anton Chekhov, a playwright, one of the famous in
just
Russia.
Photo of him here,
Yeah.
of sculpture. Yeah.
Chekhov, yeah. On his way to Sakhalin Island, he stayed in Tomsk for 3 days, and he wrote to his sister something like, Tomsk was incredibly boring city. Men were drunk, women were ugly. It happened in spring 1890, and in 2004, Tomsk artist Leonty Usov designed a bronze statue of Chekhov, which makes him look funny. The text of the pedestal says, Anton Chekhov as seen through the eyes of drunken peasant lying in a ditch. So his feet appear unnaturally large. It's like that huge.
Yeah, and we just saw a couple of pictures of it, and to me, like, I don't know, but Tomichi, like Tomsk residents, they really like this statue, and they try to take a picture with him. Like, it's always interesting. But
only picture with Chekhov. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I wanted to say about him, maybe back then in 19th century, Tomsk really didn't look so attractive.
Yeah.
Not too many streets had cobblestones, and plus it was spring, and during the winter Tomsk gets a lot of snow, and everything is melting and everything is dirty. And I've read that Chekhov lost his galoshes, and so he was mad. So his experience with Tomsk was not so pleasant.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think he can think about the Tomsk because of this. Yeah, this way. I think yes. But in 1880, Tomsk State University was founded, and soon after that, in 1896, Tomsk Polytechnic University. That turned the city into the educational center of Siberia. And by the World War II, every 12th resident of the city was a student.
Yes, it's good. And I'm really happy that young people know the history, but I have another question for you. So what do you know about Tomsk being a closed city?
Yeah, I know this fact because my parents were students the same years you are, and my father told me the story that Tomsk was kind of a closed city for foreigners, but Seversk is the city, another city close to Tomsk, and he told me about the Seversk itself, but not only about Tomsk.
A couple of years ago, I was getting ready for my presentation about Russia, and I found out that during the Cold War, Tomsk was a closed city, and I was a child at the time. And what I knew about Seversk being closed city, but actually, like really, how it turned out that Tomsk was closed, but Seversk was secret. And of course, everybody knew about Seversk, but nobody knew that it was secret city. Yeah, but now I think it's something, I don't know. I still think that people cannot go to visit anybody in Seversk without a special permission, but still people can read about the city. I mean town.
Yeah, it's not secret, but it's closed. Yeah.
Exactly. So now it's backward.
Now we can read about Seversk because we have a nuclear station, nuclear plant, and we have a big building for the future generations. Official openly says about this nuclear plant. Since 2011, Rosatom has been working on a project to create a closed fuel cycle technology. At the Siberian chemical plant in Seversk, there will be a pilot demonstration of complex, which will include 3 industrial facilities that have no analogs in the world. A model for the product of uranium plutonium nuclear fuel, they call this the Brest 300 power unit, and the model for the processing for irradiated fuel. They say that the safety level of the complex and the reactor actually excludes accidents. I want to read aloud a part of an interview of Rosatom's director, Alexey Likhachov. The nuclear power industry resources base will practically become inexhaustible thanks to the infinite reprocessing of nuclear fuel. At the same time, the future generations will be spared of the problem of accumulating spent nuclear fuel. The successful implementation of this project will allow our country to become the world's first owner of the nuclear power technology, which fully meets the principles of sustainable development in terms of environment, accessibility, reliability, and efficient use of resources, said Alexey Likhachov, the director of the Rosatom.
Okay, but yes, I saw this information on the news on RIA Tomsk. I just really want to believe in the safety level of this nuclear plant, especially after nuclear accident that happened in April of 1993. I don't know how old you were, a year or 2 years old, and you probably 1. Yeah, I assume that you were 1. But it was really scary. Officials would not say anything, people would gossip, and you don't know what to do, what don't do. So it was, I can tell you, it was scary. And I wish no one goes through, like will go through that again. So let's hope for the best. Well, we spoke about Tomsk's past. We spoke a little bit about modern times. What do you think about future? How you, like, what do you think how it may look like? Future of Tomsk, of course.
Speaking about the future of Tomsk, I think we should notice the project of University Campus. The government will have built this campus by 2025. It looks like the city will keep moving the same way. I mean, science. Here in Tomsk, we already have a lot of great scientists with the worldwide known names, and I think this is the right way to go. Who knows, maybe in 20 or 30 years, Tomsk will be one of the biggest scientific center in Russia.
Let's hope.
Anyway, we already can see that students prefer to stay here in Tomsk after their graduation, and they want to improve the city. They show their ideas to the government. Government supports their ideas, and I like it. We definitely can see the city is changing and becomes a more comfortable place to live.
Okay. Oh, our presentation is still goes on. It's still going. Nice. So, okay. So we were talking about something else. Let's talk about the weather. How is now in Tomsk?
It's -5 degrees, I think, but it's not that cold because there is no wind, there is no wet outside, so you can enjoy this weather walking around the city. You really can enjoy.
Okay, now it's gone. It's stopped. So -5 degrees. It's about 28 probably Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here is a little bit warmer. Okay, Vladimir, it was really nice talking to you, and I want to tell you that you did me a big favor by accepting my invitation. I really, really wanted to talk about Tomsk because, as I said, I think Tomsk deserves to be known. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. I was glad to speak, to talk with you, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. This is Elena. Thank you for watching.